My name is Camille Rhodes. I'm 39. The night I stopped pretending, the kitchen smelled like lemon oil and heat from the oven I'd restored with my own hands. Kieran stood across from me, arms crossed, the same stance he used when bidding on a lie. We were arguing about Ashley, 17, sharp as glass, insisting on a weekend party 3 hours away at a house no one could vouch for. I said no, I told him. School weekend. Unknown parents. It's not safe. His eyes went cool. I had seen that cold more and more lately. The weather that rolls in when a man decides you're the problem because you're the one saying the thing nobody wants to hear. Then he said it, quick and neat, like a cut with a fresh blade. You'll never be her real mom. Stop pretending. I didn't yell. I didn't plead. Something inside me powered down, like a breaker thrown in a storm. The house hummed. The lemon oil smelled like someone else's home. I wiped my hands on a towel, hung it straight on the oven handle, and walked into the garage. When I can't save a project, I sort hardware, screws into their little drawers, washers by diameter. It's the ritual that says, we're done here. Kieran didn't follow. Hours later, I came in. Our bed held the hollow his body made. He was facing the wall, asleep or pretending to be. I lay on the couch, eyes open to the ceiling we'd repainted last spring, counting tiny ripples in the plaster. There's always something you don't see until the light changes. Morning wore a bright, ordinary face. Coffee maker clicked on. Voices drifted from the kitchen. The light, sparking kind that makes you turn your head before you remember. I stayed in the hallway, invisible behind the corner. I can't believe you finally said it, Ashley giggled, a brand of glee I didn't recognize on her. His face, Dad, priceless. It's the truth, Kieran answered, and then laughed with her. Someone needed to say it. All her little rules and lectures like she has the right. She's just the one who pays for things. I did not feel fire. I felt stillness, huge and unbroken, like the quiet snow makes before anyone steps outside. I walked into my bedroom, and took 2 duffel bags from the top shelf of the closet. Clothes, toiletries, the framed photo of my parents at the lake, the only picture that matters when a life unspools. I left the rest. The Father's Day mug Ashley had insisted I open in front of her 2 years ago, world's best bonus mom, stayed right there, cheerful and wrong. On the nightstand, the spare keys caught light. I slid them into my pocket, then stood in the doorway and listened to their laughter carry down the hall. It didn't reach me. At the desk in the office I rent for my contracting business, I parked in the lot and just watched the steering wheel for a minute. Then I went to work. I called my bank and moved every pre-relationship dollar into a private account I'd opened years ago and never needed until now. My paycheck? Rerouted. Automatic transfers? Canceled, except the ones covering 1 more month of shared bills. After that, the math was theirs. I called Tom, realtor, old client, good man. I'm listing the house, I said. It's titled in my name only. No liens. I want it done fast. He whistled. Cam, that place will move in a week in this market. I'll bring papers by it too. I texted my attorney. Need you to dust off the cohabitation files and the title chain. Fast. At noon, I drove back, not to talk, not to fight, just to print what I needed and leave what I didn't. The house was empty. School and work had snatched them both. Sunlight spread across the kitchen tile like a fresh coat of mercy. I pulled a notepad from the junk drawer, wrote a single line, steady hand, straight letters. You're right, I'm not her real mom, and you're not my real family. I left the note where they'd been laughing. On the way out, I paused on the threshold. 10 years is enough time to build a kitchen from studs, and to forget the sound of your own mind. I turned the handle and stepped into my own life. The calls began at 4, when Ashley would have come home and seen the note. A photo of my handwriting lit my screen with her message. What is this? I didn't respond. At 5, Kieran started calling. 7 voicemails stacked like poorly poured concrete. Call me right now. This isn't funny. Then, where are you? Are you trying to scare us? Then the whining panic. Okay, you made your point. Come home. We can talk. The next morning at 7, the storm matured. There's a for sale sign in the yard, he screamed when I picked up. Our yard, Camille. What did you do? It's not our yard, Kieran, I said. Calm felt like a brand new room. It's my yard, and I'm selling my house. You can't. Ashley lives here. This is our home. No, I said, voice even. It's my home. You were living in it. Now I'm selling it. The market is hot. You should start looking. Silence, then sputtering. My lawyer will bury you for this. Have him read the deed, I said, and the file you signed when you moved in. There's a reason my name is the only one recorded with the county. Goodbye. I hung up, blocked his number, blocked Ashley's. Peace isn't always quiet. Sometimes it's the engineered hush of a door that finally fits its frame. At 2, Tom slid the listing agreement across my office table and tapped the pages that mattered. Legal description, disclosures, timing. I initialed every box like a woman clocking out from a job she had already finished. I'll have the sign up at sunrise, he said. For the first time in a decade, I felt something like air in my lungs. At 4, Eileen, Kieran's mother, called from an unknown number. I answered thinking it was a supplier. She didn't bother with hello. You cruel, heartless woman, she said. Walking out on your family? Ashley adores you. No, I said. Ashley adores what I provide. There's a difference. She's a child. She's 17. She's old enough to laugh at me with her father in my kitchen, I said. And he's old enough to teach her better. You're throwing them into the street. I'm selling my property. Kieran has a job. He can sign a lease. He's a grown man. It's time he learned to live like one. I hung up. The word entitlement hovered before it settled in the empty chair across from me and stayed there like a guest who doesn't understand goodbyes. By 6, my attorney had replied with scans, deed history, occupancy agreement, emails with timestamps of who paid what down to the nails. I printed the packet and slid it into a folder labeled When They Forget. That evening, I crashed on my friend Mark's couch. 1 pillow, 1 blanket, the kind of spare comfort that asks nothing back. We didn't talk much. He handed me a glass of water like it was a ceremony. The next morning, at exactly 6:45, a post drove into the front lawn I no longer claimed, and a white sign swung in the early light. At 7:01, my phone lit again. I didn't pick up. Tom texted a photo of the sign, and then, a minute later, another of the first showing request. By 9, I sat alone at my office window and watched the city wake up. Delivery trucks hissed. Brakes sighed, a forklift beeped in some other story that did not involve me. I thought about the laughing in the kitchen and how a decade could be erased by a single sentence. It wasn't the sentence that did it. It was the truth beneath it, living there for 10 years, just waiting for the right light to reveal it. At noon, an offer came in above asking. I signed the counter, Tom sent the acceptance. A clock started somewhere I didn't need to see. That afternoon, Ashley messaged me again, a list dressed as a question. Since you're selling the house, you owe me for my college fund. Also keep paying my car and don't take me off the phone plan. I read it twice, then I answered once. Ashley, I am not your real mom. I am not responsible for your finances. Please speak to your father. That's what real families do. The replies were a string of insults. Loser, fake, you were never anything anyway. Words kids learn from adults who should know better. I took a screenshot and sent it to Kieran with a caption, "You're doing great." Then I blocked her everywhere I could think of. At dusk, I returned to the empty house with a roll of blue tape and marked baseboards that needed touch-up for the showing. Old habits. When I leave something, I leave it clean. I stood in the kitchen a last time. The mug was still there. I let it be. On my way out, I turned off every light. Street lamps flickered to life like a curtain falling. When I shut the door, it clicked into the latch with that perfect snug sound a carpenter lives for. I locked it and walked down the path without looking back. I wasn't angry. I was finished. The morning the for sale sign took root in the lawn, the neighborhood woke up to a story it didn't know. The post stood white and sure in the grass. A neat declaration that some foundations look solid until you read the load calculations. Tom's text buzzed my phone with a photo and a cheerful, "We're live." The second text was less cheerful. "Kieran," from a new number. "Unblock me. We need to talk." I didn't. I have learned that "we need to talk" is usually code for, "I need to manage your reaction." I poured coffee into a battered thermos and drove to a kitchen remodel on the east side. Tiles wait for no one's heartbreak. By 10 a.m., Tom had 3 showing requests. By noon, one agent sent me a sight-unseen soft offer over asking pending walkthrough. The market was hot. It would move. I told him we'd wait for full offers after the first weekend. Let them sweat a little. Let the clock tick loud enough for Kieran to hear it from across town. At 1, an email landed with the heavy, performative subject line lawyers love, formal demand to halt unlawful sale. It came from a firm I recognized, a tidy stationery brand that charges extra to bold the wrong words. The letter said I was recklessly disposing of shared assets, that I had abandoned a minor and endangered housing stability, that Kieran's contribution to household improvements constituted an equitable interest. It demanded I dismantle the listing and restore full financial access. There was a line item for emotional distress. They copied Eileen on the thread, like insult needs a witness. I forwarded the email to my attorney with one line. Please advise. Also, please enjoy. He replied 20 minutes later with scanned attachments and a sentence that made me smile. There is nothing unlawful about selling your own house. His packet included the title chain, purchase documents, tax payments from before Kieran moved in, that cohabitation agreement he'd called distrustful, then signed anyway, and a ledger proving my money bled into the mortgage long before his toothbrush arrived. He closed with, "Any further attempt to cloud title will trigger our counter for frivolous claims." I CC'd Tom for his records. Then I set my phone face down and ran a bead of adhesive under a backsplash like it was a line I was refusing to cross again. At 3, Eileen called from yet another number. I let it go to voicemail. She filled 1 minute and 58 seconds with scripture and shame, a strange mix like honey poured on a knife. She said a woman does not tear down her home with her own hands. I thought of all the times I'd held this place together alone, budget stretched, bills balanced, late-night runs for the part that would make the AC breathe again. Strange how people who never lift a beam know so much about the weight of your roof. At 4, Ashley tried a new angle. Look, if you're selling the house, you at least owe me for my college. It's what moms do. I typed and deleted 3 drafts before I settled on the only words that wouldn't keep me awake later. Ashley, I am not your real mom. Please talk to your father. Seen. No reply. Then, 5 minutes later, a screenshot from an anonymous account of my note on the counter, zoomed, circled, sent to a group chat whose members I didn't want to imagine. The caption read, "She finally showed her true colors." If true colors look like boundaries, then yes, fluorescent. I drove to the old house at dusk to leave touch-up paint and a clean doormat for showings, because I am the kind of person who leaves places kinder than she found them. The living room looked larger without us in it. I stood by the picture window and watched the street. Across the way, Mrs. Lang watered her roses and pretended not to see me. People love a spectacle they can call sad over dinner. I locked up, listened for that clean click again, and left the keys in the realtor's box. On Mark's couch that night, I stared at the ceiling and let the day settle. Peace isn't a featherbed. It's a floor you know will hold. The next morning, Kieran got creative. He used Ashley's phone to call my office line, the one I hadn't blocked, because vendors have that number. I recognized his inhale before the first word and felt an old muscle brace. I picked up anyway, because sometimes you want to look at the storm on the radar and name it. "You can't do this," he said. No hello. "I live there. Ashley lives there." "You live there," I said, past tense. "What am I supposed to tell our friends? My colleagues? That you threw us out?" "You can tell them you said out loud what you'd been thinking for years," I said, "and that I believed you." Silence. Then he laughed, a short, brittle sound. "You're overreacting." "Overreacting is crying over a scratch on the floor. This is replacing rotten joists." He tried another track. "Ashley needs stability." "Then she needs parents who don't mock the person keeping the lights on," I said. "She needs truth." "You're punishing her." "I'm declining to reward cruelty," I said. "There's a difference." His voice found a new register, the one designed to peel you back to when you still wanted to be loved for your labor. "After everything I've done for you," he said softly, "this is how you repay me?" It was almost funny. "What you've done for me," I repeated, and let the words hang in the air like a shelf bracket waiting for a screw that will never come. "Goodbye, Kieran." I hung up. Mark in the kitchen lifted an eyebrow over a mug. "Healthy chatter?" "Performative grief," I said. We went to work. By Friday, Tom had 6 offers. We countered 2 and accepted 1. 45-day close, cash over list, no contingencies besides the standard inspection. The clock began in earnest, numbers turning in a silent corner of the deal where emotion has no jurisdiction. That afternoon, my attorney forwarded Kieran's lawyer's second letter, a colder one, all citations and none of the theater. The subtext was simple. They'd done their due diligence and didn't have a case. Attached to the end, a tepid suggestion that we consider the minor child's needs. I wrote back, "I considered them for 10 years. Then I kept the reply in my drafts and didn't send it. Not every truth needs ink. The weekend brought a new species of message. People we both knew, suddenly brave behind their phones. Hey, Cam, just checking on you. Kieran says. I replied to no one. I have learned that information delivered with a hook expects you to put your mouth there. Eileen escalated to group texts with members of her Bible study. She wrote about covenant and community, the language of belonging as a weapon. One woman DM'd me privately to say she thought what I did was inspiring, but could I please avoid creating division? I turned my phone over and watched a moth batter itself against Mark's lamp until it found the exact angle of escape. There is a physics to freedom. On Monday, my payroll hit the new account for the first time. The number glowed on my banking app with the kind of quiet satisfaction no applause can match. I left the joint account enough to cover utilities until the close, plus 1 month of grace. After that, math would do what math always does. That afternoon, a formal email from Kieran arrived. The subject line was a plea disguised as policy, proposal for transitional support. He wanted me to keep them on my phone plan, pay Ashley's car note through graduation, contribute to her first semester of college, to preserve continuity. He cited what I had done as a mother figure. He did not cite the kitchen laughter. I wrote back, I will not be financing a story where I am both mocked and indispensable. Then, because sometimes I do believe in leaving a door unlocked for decency, I added, if Ashley apologizes directly without demands, I'll consider 1 more month of her phone and car to give her time to adjust. That is not a promise. It is an invitation to act like a person. No reply. The house inspection came and went. A single GFCI outlet to update, a hairline crack in a walkway I'd already planned to patch. I knocked out both items that same afternoon with a trowel and a square of new protector. I left a note for Tom. Done. Sign Ed CR. He sent back a thumbs up and a party hat emoji, as if emoji could mark what this really was. An exit, but also a return. Then came the call I didn't expect. Unknown number. City Exchange I recognized but couldn't place. I let it ring to the last second, then answered. Camille? A woman's voice. Tired but steady tired, like a person who has told the truth to herself 3 times before dialing. My name is Rita. I'm Ashley's mother. I said nothing for a beat, long enough for the shape of the name to settle in the room with me. Kieran had always said, she's gone, she doesn't care. I listened into the line and heard something that didn't match the legend. Not manipulation, not heat, just the friction of trying to move a stuck door. I heard a version, Rita said, each word careful. I don't think it's the real one. I don't want to make a scene. Could we meet somewhere public? I need to know what my daughter's been told. There are moments when the crane operator lowers a beam and you pray the anchor points you can't see were properly set years ago. I thought about Ashley at 7, proud in a paper crown. I thought about Ashley at 17, laughing in my kitchen like somebody else's daughter. I thought about Kieran's neat blade of a sentence cutting through 10 years of my life and leaving me clean, if bleeding. Yes, I said. Tomorrow, noon. The diner on 5th, the corner booth. Thank you, she whispered, and the call ended with a small click that sounded like a latch that might hold. I set my phone down, and for a long moment, I watched the light move across the floor in Mark's living room. Late afternoon sliding toward evening, brightness softening to something you could bear. It wasn't forgiveness yet. It was the geometry of the next right thing. The next day at noon, I sat in the corner booth of Millie's Diner, a place that still smelled like butter and old stories. The chrome on the counter gleamed, and the waitress with the teased gray hair poured me coffee without asking. I had chosen this place on purpose. Neutral ground. No ghosts, no memories, just the low hum of strangers. When Rita walked in, I recognized her instantly. The resemblance between her and Ashley was undeniable. Same eyes, same sharp jawline, softened by time. But there was something else in her, something wearier, like she'd already lived through her own storm. Camille? She asked, sliding into the booth. That's me, I said. She ordered tea, hands trembling slightly as she unwrapped the paper from the straw. Kieran called me last week, she began, her voice low. Said you'd kicked him and Ashley out. Said you were selling the house out from under them and ruining their lives. I let her words hang there. I'd heard that version before, just not from her. I figured, I said finally, and I imagine he left out the part where he told me I'd never be her real mom. Rita's eyes lifted. He didn't mention that. I took out my phone and opened the screenshot, the one of Ashley's message demanding money. I slid it across the table. She looked, then sighed. She's learned from the best, she murmured. I'm not proud of that. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Just the clatter of dishes and the low murmur of other people's lives. Then Rita said softly, "When I left him, Ashley was 6. He told everyone I ran off, but the truth was, I couldn't survive another day being told I wasn't enough. I thought I was sparing her by leaving. Instead, she learned his language." I looked at her, really looked, and realized this wasn't an ambush. It was a confession. "I don't blame you," I said, "but I need you to understand. I gave her everything I could. I was there for the scraped knees, the science fairs, the college tours. I was the only mother she had for 10 years, and she laughed while he tore that apart." Rita's eyes glistened. "She's 17. She thinks cruelty makes her powerful, but I can fix this." "Don't," I said gently. "You can't fix people who enjoy the breaking." Rita nodded slowly, absorbing it like medicine that burns before it heals. "I'm sorry," she said finally, "for what you went through, for what she became." I believed her. We talked for nearly 2 hours. Not like enemies, like two women who had both survived the same man in different decades of his life. When she left, she squeezed my hand once, a quiet pact between the broken and the mended. As soon as she walked out, my phone buzzed again. Diana Cole, CEO of the development company I'd been contracting for. A woman whose word could make or end your career. I answered. "Camille," she said briskly, "I received a rather strange voicemail this morning from a woman named Kieran. Sounded emotional, unstable. She claimed you were going through a breakdown and shouldn't be trusted with our project." For a second, the diner noise went silent around me. Kieran's desperation had found a new low. I took a slow breath. "Diana," I said carefully, "thank you for telling me. Here's the truth. I'm ending a 10-year relationship with someone who doesn't understand the word no. I can assure you it won't affect our project." "I thought as much," she replied. "You've always delivered ahead of schedule. I just needed to hear it from you." I smiled faintly. "You'll have the final invoice next week, and the kitchen samples by Friday." "Perfect," she said. "And Camille," her tone softened, "I've been divorced twice. I know a bitter ex when I hear one. Keep your head high." When the call ended, I exhaled for the first time in what felt like days. Kieran's attempt to ruin me had only reinforced my credibility. The truth, when it stands tall, doesn't need a defense. That night, Mark grilled steaks on his tiny balcony while the city lights hummed below. He handed me a plate and said, "You're quiet." "I met Ashley's mother today," I said. "She's not what I expected." He grinned. "Neither are you anymore." "What's that supposed to mean?" He shrugged. "You look done, peaceful, in a scary way." I laughed softly. "Maybe I am." My phone stayed dark for 3 days after that. No messages, no calls. Then, late on a Sunday night, a new text came from an unfamiliar number. "Hi, my name is Dana. I think we need to talk." I frowned. "Who's Dana?" I muttered aloud. Mark looked up from the sink. "New character?" "Feels like it," I said. "Or another ghost." The next morning, curiosity won. I replied, "Sure, who is this?" Her answer came quick. "I'm Kieran's girlfriend, and I think I'm in trouble." I stared at the words until they blurred. The pattern had already begun repeating itself. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger, just a quiet, steady pity. We met 3 days later at a small cafe downtown, the kind that sold lavender lattes and quiet. Dana was already there, sitting near the window with her hands wrapped around a cup she hadn't touched. She looked younger than me by maybe 10 years, but her eyes had the same tired glassiness I used to see in the mirror. "Camille?" she asked when I approached. I nodded and sat across from her. "You said you think you were in trouble." She exhaled, half laughing, half shaking. "Kieran told me you'd ruined his life, that you were manipulative, jealous, crazy. He said you took everything from him, but—" She swallowed. "Lately, I think that story's missing pieces." "Which pieces?" I asked. "The ones where he drains people dry," she said quietly. "The ones where every kindness turns into a debt." I stayed silent, letting her keep talking. She needed to hear herself more than I needed to speak. "He was so charming at first," she continued. "He'd say things like, 'You're not like the others.' He helped fix my sink the first week we met, then my car. Then he started staying over, saying he could save me money. It sounded sweet until the bills started coming in with his name on them. She reached into her bag and slid a paper across the table, a credit card statement. $10,000. All charges for clothes, salons, and dinners that weren't hers. He opened it in my name, she whispered. When I confronted him, he said I was being dramatic, that it was our account, that I should be grateful he cared enough to make things easier for me. I nodded slowly. He's good at rewriting history in real time. Her voice broke. And then I found your name. He'd saved your number under Project Manager. I Googled you. I found the house listing. I called your realtor pretending to be a buyer, and he mentioned you'd already sold. A pause, then softly, you got away. I didn't answer right away. The sunlight hit her hair in that same sharp gold I remembered on Ashley. For a moment, I saw not another woman, but another warning I'd already lived. I'm not sure away is the word, I said. I just stopped paying the toll. Dana wiped her eyes and managed a small laugh. That sounds impossible. It's not, I said. You just have to be ready for the silence that comes after you stop explaining yourself. She nodded, and I watched something shift in her, fear turning into resolve. 2 weeks later, she texted, I left him, reported the card. He's furious, but I'm free. I sent back only, good. That same night, another message appeared, from Ashley. It started with 3 words I never thought I'd read. I'm so sorry. Her message was long, clumsy, full of half-truths and late realizations. She wrote about how she'd seen her father unravel after Dana left, how he'd started blaming everyone, including her. She said Rita had been visiting, telling her things she didn't want to hear, that love without respect isn't love at all. I was a brat, Ashley wrote. You were good to me. I didn't see it. Mom and Grandma made it sound like you were just a paycheck. I'm sorry it took me this long. I stared at the message for a long time. The part of me that still remembered her little hand in mine wanted to reply with warmth. The part that had learned hard boundaries wanted silence. In the end, I chose balance. Thank you, Ashley. I wish you the best. That was all. It was enough. Months passed. The house sale closed smoothly. The funds cleared, and the paperwork finally caught up to my freedom. I sold my contracting business to a larger firm, packed my tools, and moved an hour out of the city. The new house wasn't big. 2 bedrooms, 1 porch, acres of quiet. On weekends, I built furniture in the shed out back, just to remind myself that creation could exist without chaos. Sometimes Mark stopped by with his dog, and we'd sit on the porch, watching the light change. One evening, he handed me a drink and said, You ever think about seeing them again? No, I said, watching the horizon fade to amber. I already did. Every time I walk into this silence, I see what they couldn't give me. He smiled. You built your own peace. I built it, I said, and this time no one else holds the keys. The wind shifted, carrying the smell of sawdust and pine. For the first time in years, I didn't brace for what came next, because there was nothing left to brace for, just a clean horizon, and the sound of a life finally steady,